Everybody, Bonehead for the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to the monthly meta. That's right, it's now June, so we're going to be having a look at the last month in competitive Blood Bowl and also what's coming up this month. Every month we like to get together and have a look at two things in competitive Blood Bowl. What's legal and what's lethal. So first of all, we'll have a look at all the various bits and bobs that are around for Blood Bowl. So if you're running a league or a tournament, what you have to consider, and if you are just joining Blood Bowl, everything we are going to go through is the stuff you may want to know about, you may need to know about if you're going to an event. And the second part, which is my favourite, is where we have a look at some of the tournaments that have been, some of the tournaments that are going to be. We have a look at some of the rule sets, we can have a look at some of the clever things people are doing, and we can also look at just who's been winning them, which is pretty good because we kind of get to see which teams are performing well. Anyway, let's move on to what's legal. So first things first, we've had one new release this month, which is the May FAQ. So the FAQ or errata is due out every May and every November, I think, and it basically has a look at some of the questions that have been raised by players. So none of Death Zone is going to be included in this FAQ, so temper your expectations. If you've already watched our video or listened to the podcast where we talked about the FAQ in detail, then you'll know that all of the questions that we have around sevens and the fun stuff that's come out of Death Zone, especially around mercenary builds and things like that, none of that has been answered. This FAQ is just looking at standard Blood Bowl 2020 rules, and there are actually a few changes that you should be aware of. So we've got a few of the highlights here for you. Reroll and skill usage outside of activations only by exception now. So if you are on a blitz, as in the kickoff result, you're taking a run at somebody, you don't get to use your dodge reroll. You don't get to use any active skills. So any active skills that give you rerolls outside of that activation, we already kind of knew that the team reroll wouldn't work, but that was interesting to see clarification around things like dodge. So have a look at the skills, have a look at this document. It lists which skills can be used. Skills use after losing tackle zone was another big reveal here. So especially around big guys who have things like Bonehead or really stupid, if they've got block, it goes away. It's really interesting to see because that also works now for things like Hypno Gaze. So if Hypno Gaze takes away your tackle zones, block, dodge, stuff like that also go away. There is a list in the FAQ of skills that still act if you don't have tackle zones. Otherwise, your skills do go away. Hail Mary Pass also took a bit of a hooning this time round. It basically now suffers, -3 to every pass made with it. So it went from a cheeky 4+ bomb anywhere with your tiny little snotling to 6+ now. So not so good. However, is it the biggest impact in the game? Definitely not, I think. So can players that are prone, stunned or have lost their tackle zones use skills such as dodge, block, sidestep or wrestle, among others? No. A player that is prone, stunned or has lost their tackle zone cannot use any skills or traits unless it is specifically stated in the description of that skill and trait. So basically your skills will be switched off if your tackle zone goes away. Characteristic reduction below minimum. This is going to be useful for league players. So if you are strength 1 and you lose a point of strength, you don't lose a point of strength. You have to re-roll the roll to find out what your dude suffers instead. So a little bit worse if you are at passing 6+ or strength 1, for example. Those crippled snotlings are going to get even more crippled. However, they're only 15k, so get rid of them and buy a new one. Pile driver also took a bit of a nerfing here. Pile driver is your foul for the turn. So this basically means that pile driver gives you a free foul, but it is your one and only foul. And if you have already fouled that turn, you cannot use the pile driver skill. So the pile driver skill allows you to, once you've punched somebody and rolled armor, if you want to, you can go for a cheeky foul. Really good with players who have dirty player or if you've got guard assists around. Now you can do it, but it is going to cost your foul. Most of the time not going to have a massive impact, but it will do on those stunty teams that love to put the boot in. So Snotlings took a little bit of a nerf in a couple of different ways here. Hail Mary Pass hurting their bombers and Pile Driver potentially hurting your pump wagons that have Pile Driver, which I always envisaged as them running over the player, which I thought was very appropriate. And the last thing I think worth mentioning is foul appearance versus a blitz. Kind of got good too. So it used to be you'd run up to a dude on a blitz and then at the point of blocking you'd roll for foul appearance. Now if you're Minotaur This dude here wants to declare a block against someone with foul appearance. You roll before they do anything at all. So basically, it's like a leadership test in old school Warhammer. I'm going to declare my charge against this ghost unit, roll a bravery test. If you fail, you can't do anything. That is basically what happens now. Their activation ends. You cannot move, you cannot do anything. Do not pass go, do not collect 20,000 gold pieces. So interesting one, slightly better. It's going to come up every now and again, so Nurgle players out there, be very aware your foul appearance just got a little bit better. So those are the changes, so let's have a look at what's legal in the format. We've got the rulebook, and we've got 2 Blood Bowl 2020 edition Spike magazines. We've got the 11 with Necromantic, and we've got 12 with Nobility and Black Orc. I'm kind of hoping we'll get some new stuff soon. I've got a little inkling that it's going to be some kind of greenskin related one. Maybe we'll get Ripper back, because we've got Ripper in Blood Bowl 3 now, so it's possible that Ripper will be on his way back. The Teams of Legend PDF from Games Workshop has the additional teams for you: Amazons, Chaos Dwarf, High Elves, Norse, Tomb Kings and Vampires. So if you want to expand your team base, you can add that. And we've got the NAF tournament guidelines as well, and inside that there are the rules for the Khorne and the Slan team, which I do wholeheartedly recommend you have a look at. So if you're just joining Blood Bowl only from a Games Workshop point of view, which makes sense because it's a Games Workshop game, but if you're just joining Blood Bowl, actually have a look at the NAF tournament guidelines, because there's 2 teams there that the Blood Bowl community at large, generally speaking, allows and considers canon for most of the point, and you don't want to miss out, because one's frenzy heavy and one is pogo stick heavy. They're very, very fun. Acorn is the last missing piece here, which was a tiny squirrel star player that featured in White Dwarf 458. You can still get that digitally, so he is eligible in some tournaments. Because he was only available in a White Dwarf, there are some tournaments that don't allow him, so definitely if you're going to a tournament, definitely have a look and see whether or not he's allowed or not. And if you're running a league, there's not much harm in running him, but do check with your commissioner, because some teams are afraid of the Strength 1 Frenzy Claws beast. I'm not all that scared. There is also the aforementioned errata from May. And then we bounce into the fun but optional rules, all of Death Zone. Flipping all of it. All of it is essentially optional. If you're playing Tournament Land, most of it, if not all of it, probably going to be disallowed. Death Zone is the fun stuff. It's the fun things that make your campaign grow. You've got random elements, you've got weather, you've got storms, you've got stadiums, you've got balls, you've got wizards, you've got everything I love in Blood Bowl. You've got giants, but most of that does not necessarily cater to a nice streamlined competitive format, so you may not see any of that in a tournament situation. You may see one element of it. I know there's a bunch of tournaments out there like Titan Bowl that have giants for everybody, which I wholeheartedly approve of, but Death Zone is full of optional rules, so if you're going to running an event or joining a league, do check in to see which one of those are being allowed in your format. There's also special play cards and pitches. Special plays, and some pitches are going to be landing with special rules in Blood Bowl 2020. Again, just check in to see whether they are in general use or not for your format. As we can see, we're getting more and more resource now for Blood Bowl. We should be getting a Spike 13 in a couple of months, and we may see some more star players hit. Okay, time to look at what's lethal now in Blood Bowl, and I just want to say, same thing I do every single time, we are getting tournaments now. The world is starting to reopen, but it is still quite risky, so please just do your very best to stay safe wherever you go. Adhere to the local rules. We're not just here to have a great time, we're here to have a safe time, and it's really important that we do keep all the coaches around us and all the civilians around us as healthy as possible. This is a game and it's not worth being hurt for. That's what the players are for. They're the ones that get hurt, not us. So last month we had a look at a couple of events that were coming up, and the first one of those was the Rocky Mountain Rampage, which was on the 22nd of May in Utah, USA. It was 1 day and 4 games. Had a standard structure of 1100 for everybody, so that's 1.1 million build no matter who you were or what you were doing. Cool twist though was that you could have a star player in your starting 11, which is it's pretty regular now. It's definitely not the default, but we see it happen quite a lot. Skills wise though, were TV purchase with no edge or stat increases, so that meant you took a essentially 1 million point build and then had 100k's worth of stuff to add, or you just dropped it low to add a load of skills. It gives you a bunch of flexibility, but does keep it keeps the purse strings a little bit tight. Teams that start with a bunch of skills that you want or that you don't need a lot of skills to add to do pretty well in this format, or teams that just want to add a star player. I think something like Skaven can drop a dude because you've got the starting 11 in there. You can probably just squeeze in Hackflem instead of a gutter runner, something like that. Those, generally speaking, do pretty well in small TV and small team value and TV purchase kind of tournaments. Let's have a look at the results. There we have it. We got first place Skaven by Macbeth 9, second place was Amazon by Flying Dingle, and third place was Amazon's as well. Who knew that a low TV tournament with skill purchase would do well on things like Skaven and Amazon's being able to just spend 100k adding block and guard to their players to make a team of blodgers. It's an interesting one and potentially a concern as we move forward, but Amazons have always been that way, and now at least they don't have Roxanna. Stunty though, Snotlings representing potentially going to see a little bit of a decrease in the effectiveness now of Snotlings in tournaments. They can still run stars, but Pile Driver and Hail Mary Pass may take a little bit of a loss there, so maybe we'll see them do a little bit of a decline. Trying to think who would be the next best stunty team. Potentially, well, I don't know, they can still take Hackflem. Hackflem is pretty much god to stunty teams. Most touchdowns, Skaven with Macbeth 9 there, and most casualties, Black Orcs representing, does not make it's not a massive surprise if you think about it. 1100, you're running a 6 Black Orc troll team with a bribe and 3 rerolls. Or you drop the rerolls and you actually just pile things like Mighty Blow onto the team. Absolute ton of just physical abuse. Really, really cool to see. And the second tournament we looked at was Sydney Bowl 3. Sydney Bowl 3 is Sevens, and it's run by a friend of the show, George Christodoulou, who is a Sevens savant. Absolutely love George and love the work George is doing running a Blood Bowl 7 series in Australia, in Sydney, Australia. So one day, 5 games with Blood Bowl 7s. TV-wise, Tier 1, Tier 2 was 600k, and Tier 3 got a cheeky extra 50k. The positional limit was boosted ever so slightly with +1 stunty player for all teams if they could have it. So in 7s you get 4 positionals. If you've got a stunty on your team, you can take it and it doesn't count towards one of your slots. So it helps out teams like Snotlings. OWA humans can sneak an extra halfling on, stuff like that. It just adds a bit of spice to it. The Beastman team is also added from Fumble, and it's a fantastic way to do things like this. You know what? It's fun to have competitive events, and if you are a NAF player, okay, it's like a players union, they will track your stats. If you're playing against an unofficial team, you're not going to get your stats tracked. That's a bit of a shame. But that's not enough of a shame to not just have a great time with Blood Bowl. Skills-wise was 2 for Tier 1, 3 for Tier 2, and 2 + 1 potential secondary for Tier 3. So in 7s, you want a limited skill format. Sydney Bowl, I love what they do. Let's have a look at see who won. And George has got some nice graphics here for Sydney Bowl 3. Gnome came in first place with Dark Elves going 5-0, absolutely smashing it there. Dark Elves turning out to be still very effective in 7s. Norse came second place with 3 wins and a draw. Necromantic 2 and 2 draws. Skaven with 1 win, 2 draws, 2 losses. That is a tough time for Skaven. Dwarves 1-1-3, and Orcs going 0-5. Pretty tough time for them. As you can see, touchdowns for Dark Elves 14. So Skaven having an uncharacteristically bad time there. Who did casualties? Dwarves, even in 7, still go full on, full cas. So Dark Elves, Norse, Necromantic doing a really good job of 7s. Pretty sure that these guys have a 2-day 11s event coming up, so I think we'll probably have a look at that on Tournament Tuesday when it comes a little bit closer. So every month we have to say our top legendary team, and the top legendary team this month is hands down Amazons. So in these type formats, Amazons do really, really well. They just come well equipped for knife fights, basically. And your TV 1000 limit with a small skill package, they tend to do very, very well indeed, especially at TV buy, because they're so flipping cheap. They get more skills than everybody else, and they already start with the ones you want. So Amazons, which we put in the power rankings as team number 5, doing a great job, coming second and third in the tournament we looked at this week. So top job, Amazons. All right, we're going to have a look at 2 tournaments that are coming up within the next month. If we don't cover the tournament you're going to within the next few months, please drop us a line and we'll cover it on Tournament Tuesday. We'd like to start looking at specific events that people are going to, so please let us know what it is you're going to, because tournament season is upon us now. Sky Slammer Nuffle Scuffle 1 is on the 3rd of July in Stockholm, Sweden. 1 day, 4 games, team value 1.1 million build and SPP buy. So 1 million. At 1.1 million you get your team, which is going to do really well for those pricier tier 1 teams. Wood Elves and Dark Elves are going to get a pretty decent lineup there. Skaven are going to be able to go either with a Rat Ogre or Hackflem, so I'd watch out for those teams to be well. Dwarves don't really need that extra 100k. They'll do reasonably well, and some of the stunty teams are just going to have a hefty amount of bribes and star players and things like that. SPP buy though, check this out. So 24 SPP for tier 1. That is, what, 4 regular skills. That's pretty limited, and that's probably fine. 36 SPP for tier 2, that's a couple of extra skills. So Chaos with 6 skills, somebody else with 4 skills, and a double is going to be pretty good for something like Nobility. That's alright. 72 SPP, though, for our tier 3 friends here. It's a real big shame that Hail Mary Pass got nerfed, because that's 12 SPP well spent on a Snutling team or a Goblin team. However, what's that? That's 6 doubles? 6 doubles isn't too much. What you are going to want, though, is 2 to 4 doubles, and then you're still going to end up with 2 to 4 normal skills as well to get those cheeky bits in. I love it. I think it's great. I think Tier 3 is going to be super fun in that event. My God, I love Blood Bowl. Right, Blizz Bowl 2021, 13th of June in Ballarat, Australia. Sorry if I said Ballarat wrong. 1 day, 4 games. Again, this is a chunky boy. This is going to be real fun. 1.4 for tier 1. 1,400,000 gold, that is. Plus 50k for tier 2 and plus 100k for tier 3. So 1.5 million team value for a tier 3 team here. And honestly, 1,450 for a tier 2 team is a very chunky boy indeed, and it's TV purchase. So you can take your 1,100 point chaos team with a Minotaur and then chuck on 350 points worth of skills and stats. This is a proper brawl. I cannot wait to see the results from this one. This is one of the biggest kind of TV things we've had so far, and the fact they're TV purchase. What you're doing is you're taking almost 1.5 million worth of perfected league team to the tabletop here. It is going to be crunchy. When you're playing against that much stuff on the tabletop, it can be very crunchy, which is why a lot of tournaments don't go much above kind of 1250, including skills. This, though, is big Blood Bowl, and I think it's very, very cool. No randoms, 5 skill maximum on any player, 1 stat upgrade maximum on any player. I think that's probably appropriate. You know what? Nobility would do pretty well here. My league team's just hit 1550, and I feel like it's doing really, really well. Bunch of guard on the bodyguards. You can upgrade the blitzer. You can make the thrower actually able to throw. You can take some dudes. Could be really, really, really good. Oh, there's just so much exciting things you can do here. Or you can take 1.5 million stunties. Essentially, that's 2 teams, which is perhaps a little bit too much. Dude, can you imagine that? 400k's worth of upgrade on your stunty team. I've got like 2 trolls with college degrees. This is going to be amazing. Stars, 0 to 1 for tier 1 and tier 2. You know what? That's probably fine. When you've got that much leniency to add stats and skills to your players, you don't want to waste them on star players. Unless you are those tier 3 monkeys who are going to be able to take basically anyone they want. Ooh, Troll 1, Troll True. Grack and Crumbleberry and potentially Morg is going to be... This is going to be so much fun. So this is Blizz Bowl coming up next weekend. Okay, so that wraps up for June monthly meta. Please let us know what tournaments you're going to in the next 10 to 12 weeks. We want to do some features on them, and we're going to start looking a little bit further ahead so we can get involved with some of the TOs, maybe offer a bit of prize support, but more importantly, have a look at who's playing, what, why, what works out, because this is a fantastic period of time for Blood Bowl. We've got our first tournament coming up in 4 weeks. 4 weeks yesterday, which is very exciting. I cannot wait. We're sold out. We've got 24 coaches and they are all ready to go. It's going to be a absolute brilliant time. And then 3 weeks later, we're off to the Isle of Wight as well. This is where things start to get really exciting. So let us know in the comments below which tournaments you're going to so that we can have a look and maybe run out some Tournament Tuesdays, kind of having a bit of a deep dive into them. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the show even further, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Or come and join us in our Patreon, link below, where you get early access to our content and monthly competitions. See you later.